Hey there, Morbid Maniacs! It's time for another spooky video, a part of VLOGTOBER. And for tonight's spooky video, I'm gonna be talking all about the Richmond vampire. Before I get into this video, I just wanted to say that if you're new to my channel, hello, my name is Melanie. Over here, we post paranormal and spooky content all throughout the year, Halloween 24/7. However, throughout the month of October, we post every single day for 31 days straight, nothing but spooky content. So if you were interested in that, please feel free to stick around and become a part of our little Morbid Maniac family. Located in Richmond, Virginia, stories of the Richmond vampire date back to the 1920s. Many believe the legend to be connected to the collapsing of the Churchill Tunnel, which took place in 1925. Claims of a jagged-toothed creature covered in blood and draped in human flesh have been spotted running through the Hollywood Cemetery. The Churchill Tunnel was built by the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad Company, the C&O, in 1873. As a result of poor building choices, the tunnel would be more prone to many flooding, cave-ins, and many worker deaths during its operation. It would soon have the biggest tragedy ever recorded in Richmond happen on October 2nd, 1925, when it would collapse, killing, trapping, and wounding several workers. At least 6 workers were killed that day, and many others were badly wounded, some whose remains are still within the tunnel to this day, the tunnel being sealed off to prevent any further accidents from happening. Legend states that when the tunnel was placed in Richmond, Virginia, that it awakened an ancient evil which was beneath Churchill, and this is what caused the Churchill tunnels collapsing. Rescue teams who were attempting to save any survivors in the tunnel that day were met with a horrifying sight. They would stumble upon an unearthly, blood-covered creature. This creature was said to be partly decomposed, with human flesh dangling from its body, as well as jagged teeth with a mouth which was wide open. It was seen hovering above one of the victims of the collapse. It would escape from the tunnel unharmed and would actually chase after one of the rescue team members. The group of men would pursue the creature, who would take off running towards the Hollywood Cemetery, and specifically the W.W. Poole's mausoleum, where it would take refuge. Some say that the men attempted to follow the creature into the tomb, however, it was too late. While others state that one of the team members was able to sneak a peek inside of the mausoleum, where it saw the coffin lid closing. And another story states that the men had stumbled upon the coffin, sealed and locked from the inside, and no matter how many of them there were, or their strength, they could not get it open. Many believe that the vampire creature had also muttered something under its breath before going inside. Now, W.W. Poole, William Wortham Poole, was believed to be an actual vampire who had a cult in Richmond, Virginia. Now, William would pass away of pneumonia at the age of 80 in 1922. And there were rumors that he actually had got kicked out of England during the 19th century for being a vampire. And so he fled to Richmond, Virginia to get away from these rumors. I believe that the blood-covered creature is none other than W.W. Poole himself. What makes this story all the more interesting is that the description of the decomposition that the creature had was how they were to treat bodies during burials at that time. This process would take up to 2 to 5 years, and W.W. Poole was said to have been buried in the Hollywood Cemetery within the previous 3 years. The mausoleum where Poole's remains rested had ancient Egyptian and Masonic designs. The double W's on the mausoleum also resembled vampire fangs. And what some people also find interesting about this story is that on the mausoleum, there is no date of birth and no date of death, other than his wife, who is buried with him, which led even more people to believe that Poole was somehow connected to this creature. Others strongly believe that this mysterious creature is none other than one of the injured workers who had escaped during the Churchill Tunnel collapse. This worker's name was Benjamin F. Mosby. Mr. Mosby was a 28-year-old railroad fireman. At the time of the collapse, Mr. Mosby was shirtless, shoveling coal into the firebox of the work train. As he was doing so, the collapse occurred, leading the boiler to rupture. Mosby's upper body was horribly scalded, leaving a lot of his flesh dangling from his body. Some of his teeth would also be badly broken. Despite how badly he was injured, Mosby made his way out of the tunnel. Believed to be in shock, he would later pass away at the Grace Hospital and then would be buried at the Hollywood Cemetery. Now, there is also the theory that states that the vampire existed long before the tunnel collapsing. The creature being angry at the disruption of the engineering works in its underground hangout, and therefore causing the tunnel to collapse. He would then gorge himself with the dead and injured bodies of the workers, ripping into their flesh and sucking upon them with his fangs, before leaving and returning back to his tomb. There have been many reports of occult activity surrounding the W.W. Poole mausoleum. And at one point during the 1980s, the doors were ever so slightly propped open, only to reveal occult symbols and words written upon the walls. And unfortunately, this legend has caused such an uproar that many folks who are out legend tripping and make their way into the cemetery will often try sneaking into the mausoleum and stealing some of Poole and his wife's remains. And this would eventually lead their bodies to be moved from that mausoleum. It is very common for students of the Commonwealth University to also visit the cemetery and go legend tripping as well. And it's stated that the Virginia Historical Society, as well as other organizations, once had the intention of getting the train remains as well as the bodies which were within it and preserving them. However, this would be put on hold due to safety concerns and to avoid any further tunnel collapses. Whether you believe in the story of the Richmond vampire or not, it is definitely not the only thing causing an uproar in town. Anyone traveling near the Churchill Tunnel today, which is now sealed up and surrounded by overgrown weeds, often reports the sounds of digging, as well as sounds of someone screaming, "Get me out! Get me out!" Sounds of locomotive wheels and faint whistles can also be heard, and an apparition has been spotted trying to get in and out of the tunnel. So there is the story of the Richmond vampire. What do you guys think of this spooky urban legend? What do you think that this actually is? Do you believe it's an actual vampire? Do you believe it's related to W.W. Poole? Do you think it's just an injured worker? Like, I would love to hear your opinions in the comments below. Personally, I believe that it could have been an injured worker and people just got it mixed up somehow. But I do find it rather spooky, and usually when there's such a tragedy like that there is always some form of a haunting taking place. So I would not be surprised if, even if the vampire is not real, that the cemetery as well as the tunnel are very haunted. So I would love to go there sometime and visit for myself. Virginia is not too far from where I am, so that may be a future video. We will have to see. And I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a big old thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Become a morbid maniac. Also be sure to hit that bell notification. That way you get notified every single time I upload a new video. I love you guys so much, and I will see ya tomorrow.